It was whatever kids were around skating. I recall that those contests on the slab there in the park, that we just put those on because nobody was doing anything, and there were kids around skating, and we wanted to do something,
Mm-hmm.
So it really was kind of, I mean, we were kind of, older guys who were just putting on a contest because nobody was doing it.
Sure.
And I don't know what prizes we got. I don't know how connected at that point. Um, I don't know how much stuff Ron was getting. He was maybe getting some stuff from sponsors, and Jeff probably was. That was probably before Jeff was running all those companies. It might have been when Jeff was. Yeah, he hadn't even gone. He hadn't even moved out and gone to work at Thrasher.
Interesting. Did you
Yeah.
stay in touch with Jeff up until the end?
Yeah. We were really, really close.
Wow.
We kind of told each other we were like, kind of like brothers. He had a lot of tragedy in that family. One brother died when they were walking down the street at night, and there was a construction, and there was a hole in the street, and they didn't have it barricaded off, and they were walking along, and Jeff's brother was walking right next to him, and literally walked in this hole and hit his head and was killed.
Uh,
His other brother was killed in a car wreck. His mom died of a degenerative, disease. So there was a lot of tragedy with Jeff, and I stayed in touch with him, but he was going off the rails with cocaine and alcohol, and I would get a call from him. I never forget the call I got. Hey, guess where I am? Where are you, Jeff? I'm in Jerry Garcia's room in rehab. So, he was in the room that Jerry Garcia went, in one of these rehab centers. And then, but of course, Jeff checked himself out. You can check yourself in, you can check yourself out. And I went to a big party he had after he bought his huge house up on Twin Peaks. And huge party, all these people there. And he was drunk. So I found his car keys and I hit him because he was trying to leave to go get more alcohol. And so I took his car keys away. Nobody else was doing anything, And then a few minutes later, I looked around. Where's Jeff? Oh, he went to get more alcohol. And of course, he had another set of keys, right? And I could tell he was basically blackout drunk, And so I couldn't stay to watch that, and I had to leave. And I waited till the next day to call him. And I called him the next morning. I said, Jeff, you are going to wake up in jail and you're going to be informed that you killed somebody. And you're not going to have any memory of it. Because I knew I had seen Jeff way back in the Wonderful Broken Things be blackout drunk.
Really? Not remember anything?
Not remember anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just let him have it. And I said, and I told him how I tried to take his keys away, and then he left later. And when he left the second time, he backed into my car.
Oh.
Dented the side of the car, right? And, I didn't care about that, but of course he didn't remember it. And I talked to him the next day. So, it was in that position where there's nothing you can do, and it, except tell him the truth. So whenever on that occasion, I told him the truth. You're out of control. You're doing blackout. You're just running around and you're still doing stuff, but you're blackout. You don't know what you're doing. And when I got the call, when the phone rang, I knew that it was somebody calling me to tell me Jeff was dead.
Yeah.
I knew before I picked up the phone. That's what I knew. I knew that was it. And I picked it up. Sure enough, Jeff was dead. So, I think he reached the point where anybody around him is going to become codependent because he wasn't going to stop. And so all you could do is say, if you don't stop, I'm done. I'm not going to be around. But he wasn't going to stop. And so, there's somebody's got to want to stop. And I know that he checked himself in a couple times, but checked himself right out. And as far as I know, it was cocaine and alcohol. That was it.
They say like his heart stopped or something, or
yeah, he had wrecked his heart.
Okay.
He had wrecked his heart, and I heard that. I think he told me he had gotten a report, or maybe it was Kirk DeWald. Kirk was in One for Broken Thing, and Kirk is still the CFO at Deluxe. And so I would talk to Kirk. So I don't know if I got the news through Kirk or if Jeff told me himself that he had gone in at some point and the medical assessment was, you're on the verge of death. You're just destroying, and I think that was, cocaine abuse. But, it's hard to know with Jeff because Jeff was an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a conundrum. And when you had 5 people together who knew Jeff, all anybody would talk about was Jeff because he was so talented and he was so fascinating and he was such a mystery. And you would end up sharing stories and nobody could reach a consensus on anything. No, Jeff told me this. Oh, no, it was this. And so, he was something else. He told me stories about getting into disguises. And this is after he was a mogul at Deluxe. And he discovered disguises. And he went to visit one of the distributors, I think in Texas, that they had done business with, and they had never seen him. And they had talked to him on the phone and everything, but they had never actually seen him. So he put on a disguise, and he had a mustache, and he had this whole getup, and he went in and was like really obnoxious, like really just rude and insulting everybody, and just in character. And they were to the point of having just like security throw him out. And then he'd start peeling off the false beard and mustache, and it's like, what guys? Jeff Clint. And
That's great.
so I would check in and talk with him on the phone on intervals. It was always random, but I don't know.